There are reports circling around that the real reason why Tyson Fury delayed the fight with Deontay Wilder is because he was getting beat up in training camp, and he also had a vicious knockout done to him by Jared Anderson. Before I get into that, hit the thumbs up, sub, and hit the notification bell. That way you get updated when I drop the newest content like this. And don't forget, without hitting the bell, it doesn't mean much to sub. With that being said, let's get into the video. So the rumor mill, like all mills do, is spinning around, coming up with theories of what happened to Tyson Fury. There are people saying that he was getting beat up badly in camp, that it was going south, that Ajagba, Anderson, Michael Hunter, they were all giving him the work. Now, Michael Hunter came out and said that Fury was having a bad training camp. However, he did not feel like it was bad enough that it should have delayed the fight. On top of that, he also said that he edged Tyson Fury to beat Deontay Wilder in the trilogy. So, this is what I've got to say to all these rumors in the rumor mill. Is it possible that a knockout artist like Anderson knocked out Tyson Fury in sparring? Yes, it's very possible, because there's so many variables to sparring that we do not know, that we're not privy to, that it happens. It can happen. You get hit wrong by the right punch, you can go down, especially by a guy who has been knocking people out, that knows how to throw a punch. Yes, you can get knocked out in sparring. However, was it a first round stoppage? Was it Tyson Fury got knocked out after doing 2 hours of road work and then started sparring? Was he lifting weights and then started sparring? Had he sparred 5 or 6 other people before he got knocked out? You see what I'm saying? So when you put into many other factors into account, it really doesn't mean much to get knocked out in sparring if that truly happened. Now, what I do not believe is that Tyson Fury got in there with Anderson from round 1 fresh, not tired, and just was getting outboxed, outclassed, and beat up. I don't believe it. Anderson is a prospect. He is looking very promising, but he's only 21 years old and he's only had 9 fights. He lacks a lot of experience, and I cannot see a guy with only 9 fights at 21 years old, regardless how good he looks, going in there and beating somebody with the experience of Tyson Fury. And by beating, I mean beating him up and making him look bad. I can't believe it. I don't put a lot of stock into it. And even if video clips come out of Tyson Fury getting knocked out, again, I have to ask, what were all the factors that led up to this knockout? Now, I'm not saying this to put on a cape and save Tyson Fury. I'm just saying this in the aspect of, I just do not believe that at the level at where Anderson is, that he could compete in a real fight against Tyson Fury. Meaning that if you took off the headgear, lowered the glove size, and put them in there in a real 12-round match, I don't think Anderson could beat Tyson Fury. I don't think he comes close to beating Tyson Fury. And I would believe that Tyson Fury would box circles around him, because he's done it too long, got too much age on him and too much experience inside of the ring. So again, while it may be true that he got knocked out by Anderson, I don't believe that Anderson was outclassing him. I cannot believe it. Now, could Ajagba outclass him? Possible, because Ajagba's coming up to the point in his career where he needs to start going for top-class, world-class fighters within the top 10 rankings of whatever sanctioned body you want to say. He needs to be getting title shots. He's getting to that point of where he's had enough fights. So is it a possibility? Yeah, it's a possibility. It is. And, to come back full circle to Anderson beating up on Tyson Fury, well, we heard the same thing about Dillian Whyte beating up Tyson Fury when they used to spar. And the thing about it is, and why I believe Dillian Whyte today would still beat Tyson Fury of today, is because Tyson Fury has shown a flaw. He has shown chinks in his armor against shorter fighters, like substantially shorter. Not a guy who's 6'7" like Deontay Wilder, but a guy who's 6'4" below. And the person that really comes up in my mind is Steve Cunningham. How he worked his body, how like Chisora was giving him issues at time in the first fight. Yes, they had a rematch. Yes, Chisora got stopped, but it's irrelevant. You could see where there was flaws in his game plan and how he deals with shorter guys. So again, is it possible? Yes. Do I believe it? No. Do I think it's likely? I think it's highly unlikely that that is the case. Because if it is the case, then Anderson needs to just skip all these types of fights that he's having and jump in there with a top 5 fighter right now. He just needs to. Because if he was making Fury look that bad, then he's ready. And I can promise y'all, he's not going to jump in there with the Dillian Whites, with the... I don't even think he could beat a Michael Hunter right now, to be honest with y'all. I think Michael Hunter has enough experience that he could beat Anderson. I don't think Anderson could beat AJ. And, a lot of people like to say that I hate on Deontay Wilder, but I'm going to be honest with y'all. I don't think Anderson could beat Deontay Wilder at this point in stage in his career. I just don't. And to the people who believe that I hate Deontay Wilder, I've got a video coming out soon about him. But let's get back to Tyson Fury. So I'm going to say this. Do I believe Tyson Fury came down with COVID? Maybe. Maybe it is. I have not seen a doctor's note, have not seen a doctor sign off saying that he had it, but it is a possibility. Now, is it a possibility that it also was a false positive? That is very possible. It could have been that he got a false positive, then took 2 more tests and had negatives. Like I said, there's so many variables that we don't know about, so many factors that it's hard to really say. Do I think that Tyson Fury delaying the fight with Deontay Wilder builds confidence in Deontay Wilder? Yes. Yes, I do. I think it helps out psychologically Deontay Wilder because now, like I said, I feel like Deontay Wilder feels like the vulnerability that he had, the invincibility that Tyson Fury appeared to have against him is fading. And it appears that Tyson Fury doesn't have that same type of, I don't want to say motivation, but belief in himself going into the trilogy, and that's why they delayed the fight. So, and then there's the business aspect where people are saying that ticket sales were bad and nobody was like really buying to see them fight, and that could be true too. I do not know. But at the end of the day, after seeing what I have seen with Tyson Fury, before this fight was announced and they was going through arbitrations, mediations, whatever you want to call it, I favored Tyson Fury to win by a wide margin. I didn't think that it was going to be a close fight. I didn't think it was going to be a competitive fight. I figured that he'd go out there and knock out Deontay Wilder worse in this rematch than he did. Knock him out worse in the trilogy than he did in the rematch. However, the delay is not a good look. And you got to understand, I've said this multiple times through multiple videos. Boxing is psychological. It is a very mental game. And if Fury is not there 100% mentally, well, I think the gap just closed some. And I do give Deontay Wilder a shot. I gave him no shot before, but I give Deontay Wilder a shot because I also know that the longer this fight takes to make, the better Deontay Wilder is getting technically. Now, would this year plus 2 years benefit him enough to where it makes a difference in the fight? I do not know, but I can say that if this long layoff Deontay Wilder has been training like you see him with Malik Scott, and Malik Scott really wasn't that late come in, but from the jump they were training like this, then I would say that the very second that Deontay Wilder develops muscle memory to the drills that he's doing, he's now a whole different fighter, and now he becomes extremely dangerous. Whereas before, he was dangerous, but as you saw, if he moved backwards, if you closed the gap, he really didn't have an answer to that. If he has worked on his technical skills and it has become muscle memory, now he's extremely dangerous because you have that explosive power that he has. He explodes so fast, and if he can do that without thinking about it, no thought, and do it with clean, straight lines and movement to go with it, well, now you have some real issues that weren't there before. And that's what I'm looking at. I'm looking at those two aspects. I'm looking at, did Tyson Fury really want to rush into this fight like supposedly he did by signing the contract so quickly? And I'm leaning towards he did not. And whenever I see Deontay Wilder improving, although it is pads and pads do not hit back, and I'm not saying that he'll be able to show that in the ring, what I'm saying is at some point, you don't have to think about it. What you do on the mitts, what you do on the bag, what you do in sparring, you don't have to think about it. At some point, it will become muscle memory. Has it become muscle memory for Deontay Wilder yet? I do not know. But what I do know is he is looking better from what we've seen. And what I really like that a lot of fighters do not do is He's starting to work on his strength training, which will help him tenfold if Fury tries to lean on him. I made a video about this a long time ago, what Deontay Wilder needed to do to improve to come in to win this trilogy a long time ago, over a year and a half ago. And he is doing the steps that I said he needed to do. Some of them, not all of them. There's some things that I wish he was doing that if he is doing, they haven't revealed it, that I would like him to do. But the weightlifting, I do like. I'm not saying that he needs to become a bodybuilder, because his body is not really built to be a bodybuilder. And I think with that type of fighter that he is, where he relies on explosion and speed and agility, I don't think him getting bulky is a good thing. I do like him putting on more weight, because it helps him in the clinches when guys are leaning on him. It helps him if the bigger bodies are trying to body him. And if the weight that he's putting on is due to strength training, then he's putting on good weight. And again, as long as he can control what he put on and he doesn't put on too much weight too fast, then I think it's a positive. Let's say he comes into this fight 235. I like that. I like him at 235. I know some people will say, oh, well, at 230, he looked really bad. Why would you want him bigger? Well, here's the thing. He got to 230 too quickly. His body did not have time to acclimate. So a lot of people are acting like Fury leaning on him was the whole reason why he looked sapped of energy, but it's not. That's part of it. That's a big part. But another big part of it is he gained a lot of weight, and he's very lean. So that was muscle weight. That's not fluffy weight. And muscle is heavy. Believe it or not, if you're fluffy and big, you feel lighter than you do at the same weight, solid and big. And that's the thing about it too, is I really truly feel like he put on too much weight too fast. His body wasn't acclimated to it, and his legs started to wear out because of it. On top of the fact that he had a 280-pound man on top of him. So, to recap what I said, I think 270 actually. To recap what I said, I like everything that Deontay Wilder's doing. I don't believe that these rumors are true. I don't believe that Tyson Fury was just getting outclassed. Could he have got knocked out? Yes, it is a strong possibility that he could have got knocked out or knocked down. It's a strong possibility that he could have looked bad during one sparring, during one moment. These are all possibilities. But does it mean that he was getting outclassed, like I've already said several times now? No, it does not. Does it mean that Anderson could beat him in a boxing ring? No, I 1000% don't believe that he could. Does it mean that he felt like he could not compete with Deontay Wilder and that's why it got delayed? Yes, it actually could. Even though Michael Hunter said differently, if he was looking bad or feeling bad or not performing like he should, that could definitely be a reason why he postponed the fight. So let me know what y'all think in the comment section. I think I really touched on everything, went off on tangents, talked. I'm driving in the car, so I just a little bored. So we just kept on with the conversation. But if y'all feel like I left anything out, again, let me know in the comment section. Y'all have a good day.